What is up, my fellow parents? Hey, how's it going? Hey, we got a special guest today, and I'm really excited for you to meet this guest, Ross Kimball, and also for me to tell you the story. I'd like to tell you the story of how I met Ross, because it is a very interesting story. But many of you might have seen Ross on TV. He's been all around TVs and movies for a long time, and he's on a huge hit, and that's how I kind of got connected with Ross. This show on Amazon, it's called Jury Duty. Ross, how's it going, man?
It's going great. Thanks for having me.
Hey, I can't wait to kind of get to know you and talk. But first, I want to tell everyone how we met. Is that cool?
Absolutely.
Is that cool?
You have my blessing.
Okay. All right, so here I am. Imagine me. I'm watching this new TV show that I found on Amazon Prime. It's called Jury Duty. It's a very unique show. Like, they've never made a TV show like this. It was so good that it got nominated for, I think, correct me, the Golden Globes for Best Outstanding, I think, comedy, right? It's so funny. And I'm telling all my friends and all my family members about this show. And here I am. Then I get my wife, Danielle, to watch the show. And I pause the show. And when I pause the show, I look down because I have a DM message from somebody. And I look down, and it was a DM message from Ross Kimball, the man we're talking to right now. And it was like reaching out to me. I had like your videos. I could probably pull it up and read it. And I was like, oh man. And I was like, what? And I look up, ready for this? I look up at the TV, and guess whose face is paused on the screen? Isn't that nuts? And I said, dude, Danielle, this is wild. This actor on the show just messaged me, and I'm watching him, and it's paused, all together. And then Ross and I started talking. We have so much in common, our background, our current, where we're at now as men and dads. And Ross, you're like my first online friend I've ever had in my life, like an online friend that I've never met in person. This is it. This is our first time ever meeting everybody. So Ross, that's my experience of meeting you. It's so cool to see your face and to be here with you, man.
Yeah, well, man, thank you so much. Thanks for having me. We still haven't met. This is the internet. We still haven't met face to face, but This is our first time meeting face to face digitally, and I love that we get to do that nowadays. It's such a modern day age where this is just how it is. Yeah. My introduction to you. So my algorithm on Instagram is messed up because I follow a lot of family and father and just like parenting channels or pages, and then Bigfoot pages. So it is. It is.
Nice. Jordan follows a lot of panda bear videos, pages. I just learned last week.
Mm-hmm. Oh, dude, I do it all. I got panda bears, I got surfers, I got fighting, I've got random stuff, people getting hurt, and then people like surviving like crazy, stunts. My algorithm's weird, but you know what? I'm glad, Ross, that Sean showed up in your algorithm because now we're here.
This
is
we just
awesome.
learned that he's into Bigfoot. So please tell us more.
Very big into Bigfoot. Well, I've had probably like some of you listening right now. I've had an array of jobs, and one of my jobs was a sixth grade teacher. And then during the summertime, I would lead backcountry trips all over the country. And one of the trips I did was in the Appalachian Trails, and we were on the Appalachian Trail, and we had one guy. This will be a short story. Appalachian Trail, we're walking, and one of our guides is from the Appalachia area, and we're walking. And I hear something in the woods, and like a twig crack, or like just something like hard break. And I turn and I go, as a joke, as a bit, I go, looks like Bigfoot's out here following us. And the guy, without blinking, this Appalachian dude who's lived in North Carolina all his life, looks at me dead in the eyes and says, we don't joke about that. And I go, okay, all right. And that got me deep. I was like 19. That got me deep diving into
it's real.
All of it.
Dude,
like,
you could go down the rabbit hole.
And I'm sure
so
listeners
deep.
are not into this, but like I have a bit about how. So I wrote a movie about a Bigfoot expert who wrote a book, and then all this stuff happens to him. Awesome. But for that, I had to do a lot of research, and one of the research I had to do was watch a lot of documentaries, and the best Bigfoot documentaries are independently made, and they're on YouTube.
Yeah,
and. I have a bit where I say we can't find Bigfoot bones because other Bigfoot have eaten the bones. And that is from somebody saying that on a documentary. And I believe it, just because it's fun. Anyway, I have two lovely kids.
Yeah.
Let's get into it.
It's fun.
Okay, man. All right. Yeah, two
Let's
lovely
get into
kids.
it. And you know what? I've got a
please.
Bigfoot story for you, but I'm going to save it to the end of this podcast because it's
Love
just
it,
like
love
that,
it.
but it's even
kind of
better.
cool. We all have things we.
But in terms of
no, you go, Jordan.
go ahead, Sean. No, you could go. Okay, I'll go. So in terms of having two kids, you obviously have this algorithm that's based on the dad life and giving you content. Hopefully that's helpful to you. Let's start off by just talking about the family dynamic. Where do you guys live? I'm assuming in LA. How old are your kids and how do you like being a dad?
I live outside of LA, kind of like in the deep Ventura, not Ventura, like Deep Valley, kind of like by Calabasas, like Woodland Hills area. We are moving in a few, in maybe a week. We said this offline, but I'm moving to the Atlanta area, which we're excited about. I have a beautiful, amazing wife. We've been married for 7 years, and we have a 4-year-old and a 1.5-year-old. So we're in it.
All right.
So we're in it, bud.
Oh, you're in
so
the
we're
thick
in it.
of it.
And
Yeah, you
I
are.
have always in my mind,
nice.
because of my dad, I've always wanted to be a dad. But because of just the doors that the Lord has opened up in my life, I never thought I would have that. Because when you're in the entertainment industry, and specifically the comedy world, you don't know what your life looks like. And so it's very up and down. And I met Jenny, who... She is super smart, super beautiful, has an amazing job. We broke up like a month into dating because I'm like, listen, I make on our first date I had $17 in my bank account, and the date was 41.
Yeah.
And the overdraft fee was worth it.
Oh my goodness.
Actor life.
But I was like, you don't want to be a part of this. And if you're listening to this, if you're a young guy or if you know some young people in your life and people are like, oh, you don't want to be a part of this, and you have someone saying back to you, no, I want to be a part of that. I want to be a part of this life. Yeah. Listen to that person, because I didn't. I broke up with Jenny, never thought I'd see her again. Wow. And
That's
2 years later, I was shooting Masterminds with Kristen Wiig and Zach Galifianakis, and we were at dinner. Yeah. And Kristen Wiig was talking about like dating life, and she's like, something happened where like we talked about like the one that got away, like as a bit, like. And we were talking, and I was like, Jenny popped in my head.
Right.
And we've been together ever since. I emailed her, and she opened up.
Oh, my goodness,
it gets
man.
wilder
What a
because
cool
I emailed
story.
her one night, and she opened up this email while she was on the couch with her then boyfriend watching a movie. And she opened up the email, and she read the email, and she starts, chortling, giggling to herself. And the boyfriend at the time goes, hey, what's going on? She goes, this guy I used to date just emailed me. And this dummy said, oh, you should email him back. So thank you. I want to thank you to him.
Ah, yes.
Oh my God.
So thank you to him. He's
Yes.
You're like, we invited him to the
He
wedding.
married us, which was great. Yeah.
Are you serious?
No.
No. I was like, I couldn't tell.
I was like, no,
what?
that took
Okay,
a turn.
okay, yeah, no. Yeah,
That's
funny.
hilarious.
Hey, man, I'm gonna.
Yeah.
That's a
great
really
story,
romantic
man.
story. That's a great story. And today, if it's like we talked about before we set this up on our podcast, we really talk a lot about family life and kids and parenting, what it's like to be a mom and dad. Before we kind of get deeper into that,
We know it can be
I just
hard.
want to ask you, 'cause as you know, I'm a big fan of you, big fan of the show Jury Duty. I think it's one of the top 25 comedies of all time. So, just a quick, what's it like being on a mega hit? To be an actor, and then to have a show that just hits it, and you're on the red carpets, and it's just so widely loved and accepted. What's that been like, man?
It's been, I can't explain it because I've been doing this for so long, and I online shows you one way where it's like, oh, I get to post about the Emmys, and I get to post about all these cool things, and people are watching, and people that I haven't heard from in years are reaching out, and so you feel this juice. And you feel like, oh, wow, this is pretty great. But I've been doing this for so long. I've had so many failures, so many close calls with things, so many things that I thought were going to happen and didn't happen. So when you eventually get on something, and this is rare. No one was supposed to see this. When we were filming this, we were like, who's going to watch this? If you're not familiar with Jury Duty, what we did was everyone on the show was an actor except for one person. So we essentially Truman showed someone for 3 weeks. Took away the phone. Took away the internet, so we created this world. There's an episode where we go to Margaritaville, and when I tell people, they never believe me, but it's absolutely true. Everyone you see on camera is an extra. We filled that whole Margaritaville with actors.
Oh my gosh!
Anyway, so with all this being happening, it's been It's been great. It's been great. I love it too. You know, my wife, she's just so used to this world now where it's like, hey, when do you hear back from that thing or that audition? Like, they really liked you on that thing, right? And you go, yeah, huh? And they go, when do you hear back? I go, you don't. You just live your life. You know, you
don't. Yeah.
And so with all of jury duty happening, it's satisfying, and at the same time, there's so many times where I wanted to quit. And you have to surround yourself. This is a big thing. Surround yourself with people that believe in you, and surround yourself with people that are going to be talking about you when you're not in the room. And I had that for jury duty. I was not supposed to be. I was the last one picked, and that just goes to show you I had to go. I had to audition a lot.
You made it.
And the directors and the producers were like, no, we're going to need this guy. And my character changed. The first day, I was supposed to be this prankster. I had chattering teeth and a whoopee cushion in my backpack. And then when we met Ronald, the hero, he looked up to me. He thought I was in charge.
Yes.
Yeah, Ronald was like, no, this guy's going to be in charge. Ross, you're the coach. Like, you should be the fourth. And so that night, they go, Ross, you're going to have to be coach. You're going to have to be coach. So they took away the chattering teeth, took away my whoopee cushion.
Oh, you changed your character.
And
Improv
like,
right there.
Ross, yeah, we're glad that you're here because you were the voice of reason. I sat behind him. When anything crazy happened, you don't see it on the show, but he would turn back to me and be like, what is going on? And I'd be like, I don't know, man. I just want to get back to my wife. And so, you know, you have to live in that reality and ending it.
Yes.
And really believing that we're all in this together. And that was a big thing, you know, to answer this in a long way, the support from everybody. Because we were no names, quote unquote, no names. The only person, James Marsden, is the only person that you know. And we're all people that are just working actors that are super funny and super supportive. So having that mindset of, hey, try to make everyone look good, and then you look good. And that's an implement of improv. And I bring that into my parenting too. My job is to make.
Yeah, well, tell us.
So improv, I
tell
feel
us about
like
that. What does that mean to bring that into your parenting?
I feel like I have a leg up when it comes to parenting, especially young kids and teenagers, because I was a teacher for a long time. I was a youth pastor. I was like a teen counselor for a long time, and then I nannied for a long time just to make ends meet for cash. And so
Manny, 6'7" Manny come into the house,
which I wrote a TV show, but no one bought it, called Manny. And and so I think the leg up I have is just I'm very playful, and I have this improv mindset where you have to know and remember, especially with young kids, they're new here. They're brand new. So they're just learning about everything when it comes to the world, consequences, joy, figuring out their bodies. And so implementing those improv pillars of you get up there and you make everyone look good, so that way you look good. Ending things, especially when it comes to play. Because a lot of times I see this with dads where, I guess parents in general, if they're not used to playing, because what happens when we get older, our brains calcify, so we don't know how to be silly. We don't know how to just play. So if like if someone comes up and it's like, oh man, look at this snake, and you're like, that's not a snake, that's Kool-Aid, and you're like, no. Ending is. I'm getting excited about this because I taught this to a few of my friends, and now they implement it in their plays. So ending is agreeing that is what it is, accepting it as truth, and adding on to it. So yes, I accept that is, and adding on
that's
to it.
improv
So
right there for you.
There's a snake.
Yes.
Oh, it's a snake. Oh, it just whispered to me that it's his birthday. We should build it a cake. Like those types of things. So it's like, how can we move this forward? So storytelling, play, and I've found that the more you play with kids, the more that they're open to learning, the more their confidence goes through the roof, where it's like, I don't feel like a dummy. Like mom and dad, they don't make me feel like a dummy when I say, oh, this is a laser beam. And you're like, yeah, that's a laser beam, when they're really holding a fork. You know, you know, it's there's some gray areas too in that where it's like, okay,
tip,
man. Well, there's some gray areas too where like if they are eating, it's like, nope, that's a fork. Use that to eat. You know. Some teaching moments.
A teaching moment. No, but you're literally saying, we did a podcast a couple weeks ago, and Sean on one of his bullet points was like to bring play back into the household. Like so many people can just forget that it's okay to be silly. It's okay to be goofy. Your kids could think you're such a dork, but you know what? That's what they're going to remember when they get older. And there's all these studies that come out that says people who play with their kids are X amount times better, going to be more successful in life. And so what you're saying is so true. And that's so great. And I know that can be hard for some people, especially those that are like introverts or not used to doing that. But you almost have to force yourself to go outside of that. And I think that's why when you're saying yes and, that forces you to take it to the next step.
If you truly want your kids to succeed, whether you're an introvert or extrovert or like, hey, this makes me feel comfortable because I'm not this type of person. If you want them to succeed, I think you really have to implement those play. Even the simplest thing I can do, if you're a super introverted person and you come from a long day of work and you're like, I got to make dinner or something, throw on some music.
Yeah.
Correct.
Throw on some, find an 80s
That's
dance
good.
playlist. Play it. Play them the music they've never heard before. Make sure it's like 130 beats per minute, something that gets you going, and you can just the atmosphere too. The atmosphere, kids especially can sense that. Just if dad or mom are like in a mood, or like they sense that, but when it's a good mood, they can sense that as well. So even though you're busy, my parents would do this too. I'm super blessed that both my parents were very silly, playful. My dad, even though he was like very stern, he always knew when to play and was always there for us. I think the thing that we always remember, my brother and I talk about this, there was always music playing, and music that we've never heard, and just music playing is huge. So I mean, take that with you. If you're not a very silly person, start with music. Yeah,
It's a great idea, man. Put on the tunes.
What one of the things I'm really taking away from this is I do a lot of my videos are about connection, and then sometimes Ross, people in the comments, they'll ask me like, well, how do I connect? And what you're answering right here is you're answering the question. You connect through play, through silliness, through music, through improv, through imagination. And that can be a lot harder when your kids are 12 and up. But when you build the foundation during the younger years of play and imagination, this is so great to building the bond, especially for us dads. I know for me, I was just talking to my 19-year-old daughter about this just yesterday. I took her off to, we picked up a bed for her off Craigslist Marketplace. And I said to her, look, I really enjoy these times with you because it's not like you and I are like going to go shopping for clothes or makeup. Like you don't do that with me. You do that with mom. So anytime you need me to help out with anything, just count me in. I love it. And so we're just, I'm not playing like dolls with my 19-year-old, but it's like that time.
But you're spending time with her.
Just
right.
getting out there and doing that. So tell me more. What you're like, you got young kids now. So tell us specifically, if you could, what are the specific things you're doing with, like, let's say your 4-year-old right now? Like, are you,
we're
like hobbies.
We're big walkers.
Yeah.
So he comes home. He comes from daycare.
Okay.
And I usually have to make dinner before because my wife, because I'm an entrepreneur, so I'm kind of my own boss, and so I was a stay-at-home dad for years. My wife would work, and I was with the baby, and so I make dinner, get all that set, and pick him up, and he just wants to go for a scooter walk. So we do a lot of scooter walks. I have 2 boys that are just wild men. So we were outside a lot. So we are scooter. We are in the backyard playing. We are, my 4-year-old Charlie, he's just getting over the fear of catching a ball. So we're like working on that.
Oh.
He's throwing the ball. Go. Henry, he's 1.5, and he wants to get in the mix, and he's going to be a big guy. He's going to be a big guy. I think bigger than Charlie. Yeah, I'm 6'7". I'm like a big guy, and so Henry is kind of built like this. And so whenever they're in the mix, I let them wrestle. And my wife, she's the oldest of 3 girls, so all of this is new to her. She's like, well, they're always like on top of each other. They're always like, why are they always fighting? I'm like, why are they? I'm like, it's just how it is. Like, it's just they gotta do it.
That's how it is.
We wrestle a lot. And mom usually leaves the room when we wrestle and have that connection. Yeah. I have a few characters that I play at night that we play with, like, that tell stories. Yes. Or my 4-year-old is just getting into flashlights, and so we got these little mini flashlights, and so we'll turn the lights off at night and just have him like look for things. So
a flashlight and a sheet or a big box, hey, that's like a kid's dream right there. Building a fort with a box or a flashlight.
Or my wife and I will just lay in bed. He'll come back and we're like, all right, we need a white pillow. And so he'll get his flashlight out and he'll go running around the house, bring back a white pillow. And like, okay, we need a blue car. And so he'll run. So just
like
giving
a
them
little scavenger
hunt. These things, $19. This is a little digital camera. And so what we did, it was $19 on Jeff Bezos' website, and it has an SD card. It has an SD card. And what we just let him go wild, and every month we just load him onto the laptop, so we get to see the world through his eyes.
Nice.
So that's what we're doing.
That's so cool.
Yeah. So that's what we're doing.
We did the little Polaroid. They have these new Polaroid cameras we got the kids. But those dang Polaroid film is expensive again. Like, what in the world? Golly.
No,
I thought this was
that's
gonna
how
be
they get
cheap.
you. The cameras
What
are
the-
kind of cheaper than the film.
I know. Golly. All right, so obviously what we're learning here is Ross does not have a shortness of imagination at all.
Yes.
This dude's mind is just
know,
got so much creativity to it, which is exactly what your kids need. You're succeeding in so many dad things right now, which is great because for some dads it can be hard when it's just the mom, the wife and the husband, and then this new kid comes in. It's like, whoa, it's taking time away from my spouse. This is difficult, and it can be tough. The patience thing was hard for me. What are the hard parts for you, if you don't mind being a little honest, or what are some of the hard parts you're not looking forward to, or that maybe scare you a little bit as your kids get older?
Right now, okay.
Example, Sean, his was bedtime routine. Like it's so hard. It's like these kids don't go to bed on time. I'm gonna freak out,
hard.
right? So there's always something that can get us to just see red, and we're like, no, that's not what we do.
I know I probably come across as a cool, collected dude, and I'm like, oh, whatever. I see red in the sense of like, all right, you're gonna go to your room, when it's just a listening thing. Because my 4-year-old, he knows. He knows that we don't do this, but they do it. Just because they're testing boundaries, and you get that. And actually, Sean, one of your first videos was, and this is for older kids, but I take this with everywhere I go, just with the boundaries, because they're testing it. So how do you, and this is another improv thing, how do we respond instead of react? And that's something that you don't even realize, Sean, is so huge, especially for dads. Because you can be as patient as can be in the real world, but when it comes to kids, you realize real quick that you're not a patient person.
Man.
And I don't care. I don't care who you
That's
are.
exactly right.
I mean, I just that's a truth for me. So I know that's just a human thing. How come you don't get this? Like, this is how it is. Well, you have to remember they're new. So patience for me was a big thing. Reminding myself with, okay, I have to respond to this, not to react. And there are times where I'll pick up something quick and I just want to throw it across the room because it's like, this isn't how we play. And I just grab it, I take a breath, and then I talk. So the patience thing I'm still working on. The guilt. I'm starting this new business, and my line of work is very up and down, and it's more no's than yeses. It is such a fraction of a yes you hear. And I am the inverse. Whenever I hear like dad stuff, the dad content out there is like, be a provider, be like that. My wife makes more money than me most of the time. There are some times where it's like something comes in, and because of the entertainment industry and just like the amount of money you can get for like small little things, that comes very rarely. So she's a provider, and I had to take the back seat and be a stay-at-home dad. And I can't tell you how many stay-at-home mom videos I've watched on Instagram being like, how can I take this and how can I use this? And so my thing is going back to the guilt of I'm not a provider financially right now at the moment, but I need to be a provider of love, affection, comfort. When my kids walk in the room and the house, it's like, what's the environment? What's the atmosphere? What's the vibe going to be? Because mom's still working, but we got some stuff to do. So that took me a long time just to not feel guilty that I am not making the amount of money that other people are. For a long time, I haven't been like, oh, what are these people doing? What are these people doing? I've had my horse blinders on for a long time. We're like, nope, this is the road I'm on. The Lord keeps opening up doors. And speaking of, he just keeps opening up doors with this new company I created. Like, it's just going. And on top of it,
great.
It's funny that I focused on this new business on helping people communicate. And then I get more auditions, People are looking at my scripts. I get to improvise more. People are asking me to do more comedy shows, and I love it. So I know I'm going on a little rabbit trail, and I appreciate your patience with that. So
no, it's great.
So I'll say those two things. Just the guilt with and it hasn't been a lot, but it just creeps in. It creeps in because I'm like,
it's understandable.
Man, all I hear about from like dad content is like, you got to be the provider, you got to be this. It's like, well, I can be all of that, just in a different way. So it's a mind shift.
I totally agree.
Correct.
It's the mind
it doesn't
shift
have to be
of
financial.
I'm financially we're good on that end because my wife, but I have to. I'm blessed in the sense where I can be around my kids more, and I have to remember that.
Yeah. I think we need to hear that more, what you just shared, because what you just shared was real. It was authentic. And that's a common thing that people don't really talk about very much at all. Like about, especially from a man's point of view, how do you feel when your wife makes more money than you, or if you're struggling, or if she's just really succeeding, and just what does it mean to be a provider? Because you see all this stuff on Instagram, all these guys are all tatted up. You got to be a provider. You got to do this. And they're like, that sounds fine or whatever, but there's so much more to family life than just that. And what is providing? You're just talking about one aspect of providing, financial providing. When there's all these other categories of providing, like emotional care, presence, teamwork, chores, kindness, empathy, all that good stuff. Yeah.
Whenever I see those alpha dudes talk about being a provider, I don't, but I really want to comment, when are their birthdays? But I don't.
That's hilarious.
But I'm like,
oh my god,
there's got to be a balance. You can make a lot of money, but also know your kids.
Dude.
It's interesting. I take a little bit of knowledge that everybody gives, and Dave Ramsey's got a lot of good stuff when it comes to finances. He also has some stuff that some people don't agree with. But what I do love about what he preaches is, when it comes to money, it's like, it's not yours, it's not your wife's, right? It's like your family's, right? So I don't care where it comes from. This is ours, right? We're sharing it together. And if you have that mindset, then it doesn't matter who's bringing in most dough. It's just, hey, we've got a plentiful, we're good to go, and now we can give or do whatever else we need to do. But for your life, just learning, it literally sounds like you have been given breadcrumbs, a trail of breadcrumbs, or like guidance on which trail you should take in these forks that life takes you, right? This Sean Don experience where he's watching the show you're on and you message him at the same dang time and your face is on the screen. And I mean, the journey of where you're at in LA, and now you've got this new business. And so like, it's no wonder you're starting to thrive. I think this is fantastic. More and more of us need to take those nuggets and take a leap of faith and go with it. I'm trying to relate this back to parenting and the decision of you guys getting married and you and your wife, and that whole story was another nugget that you went down. Now that you are kind of in the position you're in and you look back on this journey, what is that like when you reflect on that? You knew you wanted to be a dad, and now you are. Do you ever take a moment to just let that sink in and just be like, man, I'm so fulfilled? I do, and I honestly sometimes it keeps me up at night.
I like to tear up thinking about it because, excuse me, I've had I've had so much, just so much in my life that is just could have stopped me from doing what I wanted to do. And so many times where I just did not deserve it, and the Lord has just opened up so many things for me, and just trusting in all that. And so when I think about my, Charlie, our 4-year-old, we didn't think he was in the cards. Like we tried for so long, and so Charlie hasn't slept in his bed in maybe like 6 months, and I'm like, okay. That's okay.
I don't care.
They're only this. I'm so sorry. I'm not sorry. I'm crying. I'm not sorry.
No, please don't be.
I was not expecting.
No,
I expecting this.
I feel exactly what you're feeling.
Yeah.
It's okay that he sleeps in your bed.
That's
He's only
going
to be this
too.
age
I
for
feel
this
so
long,
bad. I'm sorry.
Right? Yes.
Yeah, I
Please
I
don't.
reflect on all of it, and through the ups and downs and all this stuff, I have someone in my corner. We have a team mentality. We're in this together. I have a really funny anecdote when you said about, the Dave Ramsey thing about the money, and Shaquille O'Neal has a thing that he says to his older kids where, Shaquille O'Neal, basketball player, multimillionaire. He goes, have you heard this quote? And he goes, like his 16-year-old kid wanted a car, and he goes, we can afford this car. Come on. And Shaq goes, I'm rich. You're not rich. You got to go find your own way.
You got to go find your own way.
I just thought about it. It just popped in my head. But I reflect on this, and there was a time. I'm not going to say here that there wasn't a time that I'm like, what am I doing? Like, I'm a stay-at-home dad, and like I should be making money, and I should be doing this other thing, and like, how come this isn't working? And we had our baby in the middle of the pandemic where nothing was happening on that side, and so I didn't think I had any skills or any experience or any momentum in anything. And I realized when I talked to my buddy who I helped with a presentation, he goes, Ross, you could really help people communicate and just be more of themselves on camera and on stages. And I'm like, I guess so. He goes, no, you don't realize it. People would want to work with you. So I just leaning into that. And if I would have bid in, and this is my story, if I would have got another job, those things wouldn't happen.
Right.
My whole story with jury duty. My whole story with jury duty. 10 years ago, I was flown out to audition for SNL, and I subsequently got paid not to be on the show. Nice. I was one of the first people they did a paid holding deal with, and I think if I made the show, if I got on the show, I wouldn't have gotten jury duty, and I probably would have been on SNL for a season and then disappeared. So all of those little things just add up. Yeah. And so I think about my parenting journey of, holy cow, like what did I just think of all those things, or like when I'm younger or when I was younger and doing this thing, I'm like, I never imagined that I would be here doing all this. And I'm just grateful. I think being grateful is huge, and people don't take advantage that it's free. Being grateful is free. You could just reflect and just be thankful for anything. A meal, a conversation, your health, your wealth, just a moment, a friendship. And I'd encourage you, this is a side thing, I'd encourage you, we have phones now where you can just text someone, hey, just saying hi, just thinking of you, hope you're doing well. We don't do that enough. Just being that person in someone's life. Man, that's all I got. I was not expecting. It's
really good advice.
To cry, and I am a crier, and it's very it's scary when I do it in public because I'm way too big to be crying. But I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Man, and I think it's so real. Like I have had those same feelings, and I am so grateful for where I am, and so I think a lot of us can completely relate to where you are. In fact, it's kind of funny because it goes back to some of Sean's podcasts, or not a podcast, but his stories that he puts out on TikTok and Instagram. And when he gives this content, I mean, you've seen a lot of his stuff. A lot of his content has to do with like share your emotions and feel with your family and guide and teach. And some of the stuff he gets comments wise, like, sissy, what are you going to just sit around there and cry all day? Get the belt out. Show them what's really how it's really
done. Comments. I'm like, what are people doing? Like, and I'm like, these kids aren't having a good time. The kids, these parents. I had something that I posted that went viral. Like 4 million people viewed this little thing that it was a video of two kids watching a movie, and it's on my Instagram. And it says, "This is your sign to wake up your kids after bedtime and have a movie night." And I stitched it by just. Hold on. So this is where it gets very black and white. I stitched it by laughing, and I'm like,
okay,
wait, I'm gonna do what? Because I don't think no. You realize what you're doing, right? You put these kids to bed. Yeah. They are
right.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Right.
Well, also these kids need
finally
they need that REM
relief. Yes,
REM. You're gonna wake them up,
right? Of course.
So anyway,
that's
I'm
such
like,
an
wait,
Instagram thing. Right.
So so people were laughing, and then I get like these 4 or 5 people being like, "Oh, I guess you guys don't really enjoy core memories," or "Man, this happened to me once."
Oh, I know, right?
And I'm like,
right.
I'm like, I don't think we're understanding. Also, this is like a funny video. Also, if you want to do that,
I know.
do it.
I
What do you
know,
want me to do?
right?
And parenting is
Instagram.
it's so gray. It's not black and white.
Right.
It's not
It
black and white.
is.
So whatever you say, it's people's experiences. It's people, their backgrounds. It's how they do it. It's like there's a lot of things that they don't want to do anymore because that happened to them. And I've had it's almost like I always want to be like, man, it just seems like we're all different. Like, how about you just take that into
man,
the atmosphere of your brain? Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Ross, I got
Man.
one last question for you, guys, and I just want to thank you for just all this wisdom you're sharing with us and all these great stories, this vulnerability. All right, it's a question about. I just leave us with one last word of wisdom when it comes to like being a great parent, being a great, parent. Like, give us a parenting.
You're asking the wrong guy.
Like, I know. I am asking the right guy. What is some of the best? What is some of the?
Here's what he's gonna say. He's like, ask a kid to pull your finger.
No, give us. What is some of the best advice that you've ever heard when it comes to parenting and family life? Come on, tell us something.
Pull my finger.
I think this is a very,
question.
very hard question, and that makes it a good question. I would say be in the moment. Okay.
Ooh, I got mine.
No, you go first.
No, you go first.
I need to elaborate.
Okay, this is mine. My dad said it to me. My dad said it to me. He said, parenting is the hardest thing you will ever go through, but it is the most rewarding thing you will ever do in your entire life. And I've always remembered that. And he said that when I was, I think I was like 8 years old, and I still remember it to today.
Ross, tell us.
I'll echo
tell
that.
us something really wise.
I'll say that.
You've heard.
That's one of mine. The other one is. Oh, go ahead.
No, you're up, Ross.
It would be this. It would be. So definitely that. My dad has told me that. The other thing, my house was a very I love you house. Like, it was a very we never hung up the phone without an I love you. Never left the house with an I love you, or like good night with an I love you. And that was something that was I just wanted to implement that kind of everywhere I go. So I do that with my kids. I do that with my friends. So cool. I do that with cashiers.
Oh my gosh, that's incredible.
I would say actually saying it. So there are a lot of things that
saying it.
It catches people off guard, but also it's one of those things where it's like, it's not like I don't want to date you. It's like I love you. I love you. I appreciate this. I love you, man. So that's something that I've implemented in just my kids, and now they do it to their teachers. They do it to their friends when they leave school. They're like, "All right, bye, friends. I love you." So implementing that and having that be okay, not to water down the sentiment of love, but just having that caring, looking out for other people. I want to implement that a lot. I think we're going to see that more and more with kids as they get older and as this world gets whatever it gets, just looking out for others. Because a lot of people get insular. They get very like me, instead of how can I make, again, other people look good? Or how can I make that person look comfortable? How can I include that person? Oh, that person isn't eating lunch with anybody. I can just walk over there. I know it's going to feel weird to my friends, or I'm going to feel very weird to say it, but you can offer, like, you can sit with us if you want, or like, hey, you sit with anybody? Like, we got room over here. Just things like that. That'll just slowly get implemented in their mind, and then they'll be great adults. That's what we're doing, right? We're trying to create people that will function in society where they're like, hey, you know what? I like hanging out with that person. That's essentially.
Amen.
Ross Kimball, gosh, I can see why you are a great communication coach, because I got to tell you, you have really just blessed us and given us so much wisdom and inspiration here on this podcast, man. Just like you gave us a glimpse into the Kimball home and into how to think about parenting with creativity and fun and love and vulnerability. Man, thank you so much. We leave every episode with a little word of gratitude, and I just want to say thank you to you. Thank you. I love you. I just realized listening to you, I probably wouldn't have told you this because it doesn't come as comfortable to me. But if you know, I would say you're like an online friend. Like, I love this guy. I love you. So thank you for teaching us about love helped me to have more comfortability saying that word. And thanks for everything you've done for us here together today, man, on this podcast.
Oh, man. Well, I appreciate it. Thanks again for having me. What the work you're doing, you don't even realize how many people you're influencing, because you get people that are listening to this, but also you get people that are taking nuggets and then using that and telling other people about that. So just know that your work is super valuable. And I love both of you.